we got another Would You Rather for today. And guys, when we do these Would You Rathers, we're not taking the obvious guys here, the big names. We're going to take guys that you might not know a lot about. That's why we do it. We want to give you some information. Last week we did Kenneth Walker versus Rashad White. So this week, let's get into it, Frankie.
Would you rather poke a stick up in your eye or eat a bag of shit? Sit up on a pineapple or throw it in her dick? I said, would you rather?
I laugh every single time I hear that drop. I love it. Thank you, Sustone. Appreciate it, brother. All right, Frankie, let's get into our Would You Rather today. Today, we're going to go with, again, staying with the rookie review theme that we're doing for these first two episodes. We wanted to pick two guys that were rookies last year. So this year, second year guys, we saw some juice out of these guys. There's promise out of these guys. They're both absurdly talented, but they're in interesting situations. So we're going to be breaking down Drake London, wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons, versus Christian Watson, second-year wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. All right, let's get into a little bit of Drake London here, Frankie. Why don't you lay out for me the pros and cons of what we're looking at with Drake London?
John, Drake London is really interesting this year. And I say that because he actually had a pretty damn good rookie year last year. He had 141 fantasy points total in half PPR. This year, guys, he's looking at an average draft position. His ADP is number 60, which puts him at going around that 5th, 6th round. And his ECR, again, his expert consensus ranking, what that is all these guys that think they're super smart analysts, which they are, right? Shout out to you guys. But this is what their rankings are, right? Within that position. So number 23 receiver. And what's fascinating too, John, is last year in a half PPR setting, he averaged 8.4 fantasy points a game. So when we're thinking about, okay, well, where does that really stack rank? Is he a flex? Is he receiver 2, receiver 3? He actually did pretty damn well, right? He's that receiver 2, receiver 3 realm, was an excellent flex position. So now what about Drake London this year, right? Well, a few things, man. One, fantastic offensive line. Excellent offensive line. So really, really good from that position. Number two, he is definitely the number one wide receiver in the Falcons organization right now. They brought on Mac Hollins. Dude looks shredded like a motherfucker, right? He looks great. But they also have Kyle Pitts. But at the end of the day, he's their number one. Now, what they also did, which everybody knows and we're going to talk about, is they drafted Bijan Robinson, an unbelievable talent at the running back position. So for me, John, what I'm looking at is, well, what's the problem? All this sounds really great. Well, here's a few things, man. The quarterback situation in Atlanta is not super great, right? He's having to rely on that of Marcus Mariota and Ritter last year. This year, it's Ritter and potentially Taylor Heineke. So not necessarily an increase in that quarterback play compared to last year. The other thing that's a little bit concerning is this is a run-first team. The Falcons were dominant in running the ball last year. Again, it was kind of the scheme they wanted to put out there with Tyler Algier. They had Cordell Patterson, right? They also had Mariota running the ball. So it was definitely a heavy run-first team. So this is going to be interesting, John, but there's a lot of really good things, in my personal opinion, with that of Drake London, especially if you can get him in that, middle 5th round, lower 6th round, value. I actually think that's pretty interesting. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the ECR, expert consensus ranking. I mean, they're looking at this guy as a low-end wide receiver 2,
yeah,
or a flex play. I love him in my flex. This is a guy I think will take a step forward. He's uber talented. You look at some of the stats from last year with Mariota. I mean, it was just bad with Mariota. It really was. The amount of deep targets and deep shots that Mariota missed him on, he could have had a completely different season. So it's really, the whole thing is tied up on Ritter. How does Desmond Ritter do this year? Does he take a step forward? Is he able to hit Drake London deep on these shots? But I think he's got a huge opportunity. Yes, they're going to be extremely run heavy, and you're going to see Bijan. It's going to be like the days of Saquon Barkley as a rookie, where he just went apeshit. He was the entire team. He got the ball, 30 times a game. That's what's going to happen. But that can be a good thing for a young quarterback and a young receiver. I think it's going to be a good thing. It can help their connection. it's going to open things up. I mean, they're going to have to play the run. They're going to be focused on Kyle Pitts. They're going to be focused on Bijan Robinson. And I think it's going to leave some opportunity for Drake London to be a little sneaky and get down the field. They're going to design some plays to get him down the field, with the play action. Their play action should work beautifully because everyone's going to bite on Bijan immediately. It's all about Desmond Ridder. Can he get him the ball? But I also feel pretty good because if Desmond Ridder isn't getting him the ball, this team will be competitive. I mean, they're going to put up some points. They're going to control the ball. They'll throw in Taylor Heineke. Definitely. I don't think they're going to hesitate. It's a shit division. It's wide open for anybody to take. So they see that opportunity. And I'm fine with Taylor Heineke back there throwing to him. Even if Taylor Heineke starts the season, I think that would be a good thing for Drake London. I think it'll just give him a little bit more veteran reps. And a guy that we've seen have success in the NFL and have success in fantasy football. So I like him. I really do. I'm targeting him. I don't want him to be my wide receiver 2, but if I've got him as a depth piece, as a guy I can play as a flex, I'm all in, man. All right, let's get to the competition here, and we're going to compare him to Christian Watson. Now, this guy I had last year, and man, and when it came to the back half of the season, he was a beast. He was awesome, man. But totally different situation here. Uber talented, big receiver, speed guy, finds amazing plays in the end zone, goes up and gets the ball, but he had Aaron Rodgers last year. Totally different situation. Jordan Love, really a complete X factor. So break down Christian Watson for me, buddy.
Yeah, John, you nailed it. I mean, the quarterback is completely unknown. I mean, if we think back, Jordan Love, with Jordan Love, the Packers actually traded up to draft him in the first round from Utah State. So they thought that, like, right out of the gate, this is a guy that's definitely the heir apparent to that of Aaron Rodgers. Now, it's completely unknown, guys. In addition, they brought in Jalen Reed, who's a rookie this year, to add to that receiver room with Watson and Dobbs and things, and Romeo Doubs and things like that. But I also think that they're going to be a run-heavy team this year. I really believe that, with Aaron Jones, with that of A.J. Dillon, and again, with a phenomenal offensive line. Again, the Packers' offensive line is absolutely fantastic. So I think that they're really going to rely on their running backs. But to your point, John, when you were describing, okay, that could actually open things up like it did, like when we were talking Bijan for that of Drake London, this could open things up once more for Christian Watson. It all comes down to that of Jordan Love and his play. And that's basically what it is, guys. We have not seen a quarterback outside of Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers in the last 30 years for the Packers.
Isn't
Think
it
about
nuts?
that.
As a Browns fan, I can't even imagine that. It's like trying to figure out how many stars there are in the universe. It's just a number my brain cannot comprehend. Having 2 quarterbacks in 30 fucking years. As a Browns fan, what have we had? Since 2000, I think we've had like 28 quarterbacks.
Yeah, something crazy. Yeah,
It's
20,
nuts,
30.
dude. It's crazy. Yeah.
All I know is that we had that long list on a t-shirt that was literally going down to like people's ass cracks at that point. It was like
Yeah.
all the way, you know what I'm saying? And it got down to like,
oh, yeah.
Baker Mayfield. But yeah, man. So long story short, it's going to be very interesting with Christian Watson. So just a little bit more about him. He had 151 fantasy points last year in half PPR. His ADP, guys, is 64. Okay. His ECR is number 24. Drake London is 23. Drake London's average draft or ADP, his average draft position, is 60. Guys, we're talking like this is the best would you rather, because you're truly going to be staring at these guys potentially in the 5th or 6th round trying to make this decision. Here is another interesting point. Drake London averaged, as we mentioned, the 8.4, I believe it was, points half PPR. Christian Watson, he played less than Drake London, exploded in the second half, and averaged 10.3 points a game in half PPR. But again, Aaron Rodgers was throwing him the ball. John, you brought out one more point that I have to hit on last week, and it was average depth of target. And it was fascinating because, guys, this is something that when you hear this, for me, I was like, yeah, it's kind of cool. But the more we started digging in and actually talking about it, this is actually huge. Because when you're trying to forecast what a receiver is going to be able to do, factoring in how the average distance, how far, right, they're looking to actually get this target, how many yards. Christian Watson's last year, guys, his average distance on target was that of 14.3 yards. Drake London's was 10.3, right? So there's a
Yeah.
huge difference there. So, but again, it all comes down to Aaron Rodgers throwing him
And
the
that
ball.
that was the difference of
Yeah.
quarterback. Mariota was not good at throwing the
Right.
ball deep. I mean, that's all there is to it. I can see, and again, let's remind everybody that average depth of target. When we say a dot, that's what that means.
Yes.
It's not necessarily a reception; it's the depth of their target. So if they're taking shots down the field, again, it's more opportunity to score more fantasy points, more touchdowns, longer plays. That's what we want to look at. It's not necessarily did they catch it. There's a lot of variables there. It's are they getting the deep opportunities? So average depth of target. We used to call it air yards. It's the same thing as
Yeah.
air yards. It's just now this is a fantasy stat that everybody's looking at, and it does make a big difference. All right, so let's look at these guys a little bit side by side, and let's try to figure out which one of these guys are we taking. They are literally right next to each other in the draft. I mean, seriously, you're looking at these guys either as your wide receiver 2, if you took a quarterback, if you took a tight end early, it'll be your wide receiver 2 or your flex. I personally like these guys as my flex option. We play a lot of leagues with double flexes. I'll definitely take either of these two guys as one of my flexes. I love that. But break it down, the comparison of the two. I mean, give me an idea now. It's would you rather, Frankie? You're the man.
Yep.
You're the stats guy. You tell me, who would you rather?
Guys, based on everything that I've said today, I'm going to go with a higher floor. And so for me, when I'm thinking of a higher floor, I am actually going with that of Drake London. I am going against what the experts are saying here and shout out to the fantasy pros. They do a great job for the listeners here. What Johnny has pulled up is basically a chart showing that of, okay, what are the experts saying that they would choose compared to that of, or like between that of Drake London and Christian Watson. 79% of them are saying that of Christian Watson. I'm on the other side. I'm saying Drake London because I like the higher floor. And I also like the fact that Ritter has already played with that of Drake London, right? There's already some synergy there.
Mhm.
I'm not willing to take a chance right away if I'm staring at these two for a Christian Watson, knowing that there's a little bit more competition, number one, not only out of the backfield from a receiving point, but also from the receiver room. And number two, Jordan Love is much more of an unknown in my eyes than that of what it would be with Ritter or even a Taylor Heineke. So I'm going with Drake London here, John.
I like that. And you know me, I can say, hey, tell me which guy I like, and I'll tell you why I like him. I could argue both sides of any of this. But I do like that play. And really, I think that's a good call, is that if you're looking for a higher floor, I think Drake London is a safer bet. I really do. And you're exactly right. They've had a little more chemistry together with Ritter. They're both second-year guys. You know, Ritter actually got some playing time. I think people are going to be focused very heavily on Bijan. They're going to be scared of him. He's the guy they're going to use him to as a decoy as well, which will be brilliant. And he's also got a freak talent in Kyle Pitts running down the field as well. So he draws a lot of attention. These are scary dudes, man. These are freakish athletes that are going to draw a lot of attention. So I think Drake London does have a higher floor, but I think Christian Watson has the higher ceiling. I think he's the riskier pick. I think he's more of a home run hitter. He's that guy. I do think we've seen him. I mean, he was dynamic, man. I mean, multiple touchdown games, huge plays, 50, 60-yard touchdowns down the field. I'm a little concerned about his durability, though, too. We've already seen some injury concern with him in his rookie season. So it depends on what you want. It depends on what you're doing with your team and roster construction. If I'm looking at it, I've got some safe receivers. I've got some safe guys there. I may take a home run shot with Christian Watson. If I've got a couple of riskier guys or a couple of maybe guys that have been injured that may miss some time, I may look at taking the safer bet with Drake London. But I'm with you, man. My first instinct is to go with Drake London, and I feel much more comfortable with that because he still has the upside, maybe not quite as much, but that higher floor when you're looking at a flex play, I do like that, man. I really do. All right, sounds good. I think we broke those guys